introduce you to Leah Harris. Woo! With the Stop Arteries Everyone 7 campaign, Murphy's Law. Leah, warm welcome.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Why are we here today? To stop psychiatric oppression. Yes. My name is Leah Harris, and I am a survivor. I am a survivor of psychiatric abuse and trauma. This started with my parents. My parents died largely as a result of terrible psychiatric practice that took them when they were young adults and struggling with experiences they didn't understand. They were labeled with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. My parents were turned from people with dreams and ambitions into patients, permanent patients who suffered the indignities of forced treatment, electroshock.
Please put the mic against your mouth. We can't hear you with the
Okay,
mic.
sorry. Involuntary commitment and a shocking amount of disabling heavy-duty psychiatric drugs. And they died early from a combination of over-medication and broken spirits. And I'm an orphan today because of psychiatry. My father would have loved this protest. Before he died, he used to email me links from Mind Freedom, and he would call me his darling left-wing daughter. Mind Freedom gave him hope and made him smile when he was told that he was nothing more than a mental patient. So be sure that your presence today is giving a lot of people hope who can't be here today. I'm here because I too was almost made into a permanent patient. I entered the mental health system as a girl, traumatized by the painful experiences that I had had with my mother in a hostile world. Thank God I escaped the mental health system at age 18 when I decided I would not be left to rot in a filthy group home, eating food that was not suited for dogs. And as hopeless as I was, something inside me said I was deserving of a better future. Psychiatry and the mental health system were not going to give it to me. I would have to find it on my own.
Right.
Yes, we protest at the APA today, but this is bigger than psychiatry. This is about the way we treat the most deeply suffering people in our society. I give psychiatry a failing grade. I give the mental health system a failing grade. Not only are they not helping people, as Jim said and others said, they are killing them. We're here today to remember many people who've fallen due to abuse and neglect. We remember Esmond Green, who Jim mentioned at Kings County Hospital was made to sit so long that she died. In 2001, I wrote a spoken word piece about her, and here's just a little bit of it. You might ask, how could this happen in the good old US of A? Where was the compassion on that fateful July day? If you're a woman of color, labeled mentally ill, poor, powerless, and vulnerable, your life is apparently dispensable. It's criminal, reprehensible. The perpetrators will be held responsible. Esmond Green will never forget you. Not gonna let your death be in vain. We the people gonna make sure this never happens to anyone again. We the people gonna get up, stand up for our rights. Walk good, Sister Esmond, and we'll keep up the fight. We the people are here. Woo! Standing up for our rights. We survived, and we must celebrate that in the midst of the grief and the rage for all who've lost their lives and their dreams. You are the people who gave me a better future. You're the people I found when I was told that I was all alone. The ex-patients, the labeled, the discarded, the forgotten. Some of us made it out. You shared your stories before me, and I saw the patterns so clearly. The patterns of oppression, but also the patterns of liberation, of defying the prognoses, of defying the negative stereotypes that society and the media puts on us. The psychiatrist said I would turn out like my parents. They were wrong. And you all told me to tell my story, and I've never stopped telling it. Now I fight so that no one need suffer my parents' tragic fate, Esmond Green's tragic fate, and Justina's tragic fate. Sorry, would you mind grabbing this? Thank you. Anne Braden was She's a white woman who became active in the civil rights movement and spent the rest of her life dedicated to anti-racist organizing. She said as long as people of color can be written off as expendable and therefore acceptable victims of the most extreme iniquities, none of the basic injustices of our society will be addressed. They will only get worse. I think Ann Braden's comment gets to the reason why we're here today. We're here today to bear witness to the expendable people, the quote-unquote expendable people, the people who hear voices, who have visions, excuse me, who live in realities we don't understand, the people who've been traumatized, abused, and then are subjected to further indignity and abuse by mental health systems that are presided by their high priest, the psychiatrists. The harmful practices perpetrated in mental health care are wrong. They're just wrong. Force has no place in mental health care, in any health care. It just doesn't. We are also here today to say no to the federal legislation launched by Mr. Murphy of Pennsylvania, called the quote-unquote Helping American Families in Crisis Act. We are here to say you cannot continue to medicalize and pathologize our suffering. You cannot continue to scapegoat us for the larger problems of violence in America. You cannot declare us too sick to deserve human dignity and self-determination over our bodies and our lives. You cannot roll back the rights we have fought so hard for. You cannot reward states who promote an institutional paradigm of forced care at the expense of real, voluntary, community-based services. We want affordable housing, opportunities for education, work, creativity, being a part of a supportive community. Mr. Murphy, you say our voices don't matter. It's only the voices of the MDs in that convention hall who matter. And we are here to repeat the words of Ann Braden, civil rights anti-racist activist. As long as we, the crazy people, can be written off as expendable and therefore acceptable victims of the most extreme iniquities, none of the basic injustices of our society will be addressed. Do you mind something grabbing that rope? Thank you. So easy. They will only get worse. And indeed, they are getting worse. Our country is fraying apart at the seams, and the DSM gets thicker with every edition. We are here to say no to HR 3717, no to fear-based legislation, and yes to social policies based on hope, human rights, and good common sense. And I'll wrap up with talking about Loren Mosher. Loren Mosher was one of the good psychiatrists. For those who didn't know him, he was a psychiatrist of conscience. There aren't too many of those left. He is no longer with us, but he resigned from the APA in 1999, and he wrote a very powerful letter, which I encourage everyone to read. I just want to share one small part of it in hopes that these words may somehow reach the people in that convention center. He had some recommendations which I want to share. To begin with, let's be honest with ourselves. Stop taking on unholy alliances without the members' permission. Get real about science, politics, and money. Label each for what it is. That is, be honest. Get out of bed with NAMI and the drug companies. APA should align itself, if one believes its rhetoric, with the true consumer groups, that is, the ex-patients and the psychiatric survivors. The revolution in mental health is happening, and we are at the forefront, and we will not stop. You need to get in line or become irrelevant as a discipline. The National Institute of Mental Health Director has already said that your approach is basically obsolete. Everyone sees the sham of what you are doing but you. We call on you to wake up, APA. We call on you to admit that you have been wrong on mental health, just like this country had to admit that it had been wrong on race. We need a sort of truth and reconciliation commission like they had in South Africa, Rwanda, and elsewhere. It's time for you, members of the APA, to be honest about pharma's undue influence in the kind of quote-unquote medicine you practice. Be honest about seclusion and restraint, forced hospitalization, electroshock, and forced medication, which have no place in mental health care. They are merely a reflection of your inability to actually help people beyond labeling, drugging, shocking, and locking them up. Whatever you are up to in there is a farce. When such human rights violations are occurring on a regular basis under your care, Let's come together as people who've all been victims of a barbaric mental health system and figure out how we can affect change. And until you do, until you join us as equals in the struggle for human rights and social justice, join us to create real community supports that meet the real needs of real people. We will be here speaking out, and we are winning, and we will win. After the revolution, historians and anthropologists will study our time and say how barbaric that these things used to happen in healthcare. The mental health system was so backwards. We're so glad we're more enlightened now. We will see this day, and love to all of you who carry on the struggle for peace and justice. Thank you.